Remember 10 years ago when I was so sick, I did everything in American medicine, and there was no answers. And then I got involved and I did all kinds of stuff in alternative medicine. And now let me tell you about some of those things, describe them to you, and let's see what you think about them. Okay? Remember, I told you I had over 100 allergies. Okay? All American medicine told me to do was avoid the things I was allergic to. Well, I couldn't avoid my clothes. I couldn't avoid all my foods. I couldn't avoid the magnetic fields that come out of these lights. You can't avoid everything. It doesn't work. And I was allergic to any synthetic fabric and even some natural fabrics. And the allergies get worse and worse and worse. They grow. So I started going to alternative practitioners here in Anchorage. And one guy did something called NAET. It's an allergy elimination treatment. And he had a big box there full of vials about the size of my little finger. Okay? And these vials were always labeled with some kind of a pollen, some kind of an allergen, milk or something was a label on those. And he'd have me hold that vial in my hand, and then he'd test the strength of my arm, and if I was allergic, I lost the strength. It's called applied kinesiology. You ever seen this or experienced it? Yeah, it worked. If I was allergic to it, I did lose the strength in my arm. And then he treated me by having me hold the vial of what I was allergic to, and he would tap me up and down my back in the acupuncture points, the acupressure points, 3 rows on each side of my spine. Just tap me. And then he would say to me, I have reinitialized your nervous system and you are no longer allergic. Wait 12 hours and test it. Drink the milk or eat the ice cream or whatever it was that I was allergic to. And charged me $60. And he says, if you do have a reaction, come on back in, we'll have to treat you again. Might take 3 or 4 treatments. Now, I did that about 60 or 70 times. I even learned to treat myself. He had this little racquetball, little blue racquetball. He had it mounted on a spring, a flat spring with a handle, so I could hit myself with my own back. Now, why does that help somebody? Just put your thinking hat on. Why does that help? Does a placebo work? At least 40% of the time? Absolutely. Now, can I tell you how he made the vials? Those little glass bottles with a black cap on them and a label. He would take one that didn't have the label and one that did have the label and go, transfer the energy from one to the next. I'm serious. That's what he did. And you know, folks, they weren't even distilled water. It was just tap water. And this guy, he's a good guy. I still know the practitioner. I know his mother. They care about people so much, and they had no answers in American medicine. They were just trying to help people. I'm not angry at this guy at all. He really helped. He had a naturopathic doctor, and I'm not opposed to naturopathic doctors, folks. He had a naturopathic doctor in his office, but they can do some weird things. They can do some good things. This naturopathic doctor laid me out on an exam table, and they started just looking me back over and over, back and forth like this. And all of a sudden he did this. I said, what'd you do? And he says, you had a dark spot in your aura, and I cleansed you. $125, please. And I says, my goodness. That was too weird for me. I only did that one time. Folks, when you're told you got less than 2 years to live and you're desperate, what are you going to do? Anything and everything, and money doesn't matter. You'll spend it all. You beg, borrow, and steal to get another dollar to try to find another answer. Is that right? Of course you do. We've all done it. I went to another practitioner here in Anchorage that did something along the lines of homeopathy. He would have me hold a grounding rod in one hand, and then you take a probe and touch the acupuncture points in my fingers. And every time he touched something, the dial would, on his little box, dial would go all over the place. And he'd make studious notes, and he'd go to the back room with all those notes and make 6 vials about as big as my thumb. There's just clear liquid in them, never any flavor in them, never any taste to them. And says, drink these and it'll solve your problems. $200, please. And he always had lots of testimonies about how people got well doing it. And then he was really into Tesla. You ever heard of Tesla? The guy back in Einstein's time that made all these inventions. Well, he says, I've got a Tesla coil. They says, your body is toxic. And he's right. In all my fears and my worries, I only got less than 2 years to live. Everything I eat hurts. I hurt everywhere. I was retaining toxins in my body because of the stress and the fears and the worries. Is what it was. Why? But he says, you got to cleanse yourself. I didn't understand that. So he sold me this little black box. It had a grounding rod and a probe. Huh? And I would rub that probe over my body to cleanse myself. And it would spark and it would burn. And the hair would burn off my arm and it would stink. You know what that little box cost? This little black box? $1,500. And all it did was burn the hair off my arm and stink. That's all it did. I went to a chiropractor here in town, and I'm not opposed to chiropractors. Please don't misunderstand me. But this chiropractor had a chart on the wall of negative bitterness, anger, resentment, all these negative emotions. And she'd have me touch one, like bitterness, test the strength of my arm. And if I had bitterness, I lost the strength of my arm. And you know how she treated me? She tapped me up and down my back in the acupuncture points and told the bitterness to go. And I seem to about that time remember a little bit about the Bible, and it says about forgiveness and about the blood of Jesus. So I only paid that $90 bill once. That was enough. Then she says, I've got the cure for you. I got something else that'll fix you. And she was into aromatherapy. She got all these stinky things. Oh, all these creams, and just plastered me with them. That was $120, and it took me a week to get it off. Folks, when you're sick and you're desperate, you'll do anything to get well. You know, I got so sick and so desperate that I had even decided I could forgive to get well. Can you believe it? I had to go that far before I'd ever say, I purpose and I choose. So I hope you learned something from my experiences and don't take it that far in your life. Because, you know, this little thing about purposing and choosing to forgive doesn't cost you anything except your pride. It's the only thing that costs you is your pride. And it gives you every blessing from the Lord. And don't cost you don't go broke doing it. So folks, the point is that anything we allow to come between us and God is a form of occultism. And all of these things I did were coming between me and God. Because I wasn't searching, I was treating symptoms. I wasn't searching for the real answer. Okay? And the only way I ever got well is when I went to the real answer, which was dealing with my sin, dealing with my anger, dealing with my resentment, dealing with my bitterness. And that's the same answer that there is for you too, folks. It's the same for all of us.